With another important feature from my morning radio show on KFNX in Phoenix, I'm Charles Goyette for AntiwarRadio.com.
Charles, good to talk with you again.
Yeah, I want to talk about your book. I've started it. I've been looking forward to somebody writing a book like this for a long, long time. First, a minute about Scott McClellan. Behind all the talk about the capacity for self-deception and Bush's manipulation and unwillingness to question anything, Scott McClellan, is he not, Pat, saying that we were lied into this war?
He's come very, very close to it when he talks about propaganda, deception, lack of candor. And I think he comes very close to saying we were misled and we were deceived. He does say that the Bush administration, the real objective here was part of this utopian enterprise that Bush has talked about in his speeches of democratizing mankind and using American military power to make the whole world democratic. And he says as sort of a cover story, they pushed the weapons of mass destruction, they cherry-picked intelligence, but the final question is, to me, and obviously we know they did all that, the question is, did they believe there were weapons of mass destruction there to buttress their case? And on that, I don't think Scott McClellan has said they knew they weren't there.
Well, Pat, the final question on this issue, because I want to talk about your book, is what if it's true? What if Scott McClellan is right that these guys cooked the books, as I believe the case has well been made and for years? What if this is all true?
Well, I honestly believe that I've believed all along that the purpose of this war was part of this utopian scheme to make the world democratic, and they were looking for an excuse to attack Iraq, and they settled on weapons of mass destruction as that. The only connection I haven't made is, did they believe that they're weapons of mass destruction, or did they believe the matter was that serious, or did they lie to us directly? Now, that's something you got to get into a man's heart. But I'll tell you, there's no doubt we were misled horribly into the reasons why this war was launched, and that was deliberate.
All right. Let's talk about the Holy War, America's Holy War, World War II. How dare you question the good war, Pat?
Well, what I say is, one of my uncles is the last of four, my mother's younger brothers, who fought in the European theater of operations. He died last week. I have an enormous admiration and respect for the greatest generation, what they did. My point is, there would not have been a Second World War had there not been the blunders of British statesmen in dealing with Hitler and in understanding Hitler, and in their panic and hysteria, making decisions that led Britain to declare a war it could not win, and which caused Hitler to turn around and come west and seize all the Western democracies. And that these series of blunders were made by British statesmen, Winston Churchill first among them. And I don't deny the Brits fought heroically, but I think in both world wars, or they were the nation that declared war on Germany twice and turned two European wars into world wars that brought down the British Empire. And I say, and Churchill himself said, this last one was the unnecessary war.
Well, maybe they were still full of themselves from the days that the sun never set, and their economic might was thus and such, and maybe it's the same foolishness. We're drinking from the same well here in the United States.
You're exactly right.
The unipolar world of the United States.
You're exactly right. It was hubris.
Yeah, it's hubris.
Hubris that took Britain into the Boer War and took them into World War I, and there Churchill was the leading hawk. He lusted for war with Germany. A number of British imperialists looked at it as a cakewalk. We send 100,000 troops to France. We help the French army defeat the Germans. Meanwhile, the British Royal Navy sinks the high seas fleet of the Kaiser. We scoop up all their merchant ships. We destroy their world trade. We grab all their vulnerable colonies in Africa, the Bismarck Archipelago in the Pacific, all their Pacific islands and their concessions in China. Expand the empire at very small cost. That's what they thought. They thought it was going to be a good war and a cakewalk. It didn't turn out to be that.
Well, as the saying goes, we stopped Hitler.
Well, we stopped Hitler at the cost of what? We did indeed stop Hitler. We destroyed Germany. What happened? The countries he coveted in Eastern Europe wound up under the control of Stalin. China, for which America went to war, wound up under the control of Mao Zedong. Korea and Japan were stripped away from Korea and Vietnam were stripped away from the Japanese Empire, and we wound up fighting for both of them. The point of the book is that these horrendous blunders that were committed brought down and destroyed the British Empire. Ultimately, they destroyed Europe as the cockpit of history. Stalin inherited half the world. The Americans got the other half. Now that Stalin's empire has collapsed, the Americans are acting like the Brits in 1900.
Well, not only that, I mean, the Republican nominee is a Churchill wannabe.
In Churchill, this is what gets me, is after, I mean, Churchill, look, there's no doubt of the greatness of Churchill, but there's no doubt of the folly of Churchill. I mean, as I've said, he appeased Stalin in a fashion seating him 100 million people that made Neville Chamberlain look like Davy Crockett. And as for Mr. Bush, as soon as he declared war on when it went to war, he put a bust of Winston Churchill in his Oval Office. This is who he models himself on. And Charles, you and I know every time there's a crisis, we're suddenly back at Munich, and somebody's Neville Chamberlain, somebody's Churchill.
They're always
it's Sudetenland.
Every third world tyrant worse than Hitler. It's the good war invoked. Yeah, over and over again.
Milosevic's the Hitler of the Balkans. Saddam's the Hitler of the Persian Gulf. Ahmadinejad is the new Hitler. Is going to do a new Holocaust. The guy doesn't even have. He got no Navy. He got no Air Force. He's got no missile that can hit the United States. No nuclear weapons. He's not even in charge of the military there. And he's now got a rival in the Parliament.
and he's
Adolf Hitler.
He's equated to the mightiest industrial force of Europe.
Exactly. You got this. Exactly. Besides oil, what do they export? Rugs and pistachio nuts. These guys are going to crush the United States of America?
Sure. It's the wind-up, rubber band-driven balsa wood planes that they're going to drive. They're going to fly across the Atlantic.
Exactly. You know what they got? They got Phantom jets. When I was in 1962 and 63 in St. Louis, we used to build those out at McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah.
And they don't got any parts for them. And so they're going to take that Air Force up against the U.S. Naval Air and the United States Air Force?
Well,
last an afternoon.
Pat, back to the United States. The handwriting is on the wall. You see it in the price of petroleum, in the price of gold, in the exchange rate of the U.S. dollar. The empire is crumbling right before our eyes, and the American people don't understand. They go to the grocery store and they get $150 for a little bag of groceries that used to cost them $60, and they don't understand what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you what is going on. It's quite frankly the standard of living of the American people compared with other nations is steadily falling. And with the dollar falling, you can't maintain an empire, a world empire, and all these commitments around the world on a currency that's lost half its value against the European currency since Bush took office. You can't do it. That's one of the reasons the price of oil is 126 or whatever it is a barrel, is the dollar is increasingly worthless. And nobody wants it worldwide. And the reason they don't is we've got an $800 billion trade surplus, and we're shipping abroad our factories, our technology, our good jobs, and we're getting back all that good stuff down at Walmart, and those days are going to come to an end.
Well, I've enjoyed what I've read of the book. I hope to finish it this weekend, Pat. Thank you very much for taking a second look at this holy war. I'm sure that you'll pay a price for having done so.
I told somebody this could well be the last one. I think this is across the line here.
No, you've got one more in you. You've got to do some Cold War revisionism. I know you've got the bona fides for it since you're a good old Cold Warrior, but somebody needs to take another look at it.
Well, okay, we'll take a look.
Okay.
That's the bridge too far, Charles.
I understand. Thank you, Pat, for being on our show.
Take it easy, Charles.
Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War, How Britain Lost Its Empire and the West Lost the World, the new volume by Pat Buchanan.
I'm Charles Goyette in Phoenix for AntiwarRadio, a special presentation of AntiWar.com. I'm Charles Goyette for AntiWar.com.